Marty. You know, if you're going to have a new corporate overlord, you want it to be Marty. It's good. It's really good. So I have the pleasure this morning of introducing a really fascinating character in the media space, Bob Bowman of MLB Advanced Media. So Bob, come on out. You like that song?
Who's that? I wish I were that young.
We made you better looking.
Oh my God, yes.
That's like, you know.
By the way, that's not hard.
I think we're spinning that business off, make people better looking.
The dot business?
Yeah. No, those aren't dots.
You did that. You're done with that.
That was the old thing.
Yeah, no good.
You've just been here enough times. So for those who don't know, well, why don't you explain what you do and how you got started, briefly, and then we'll talk about the
That's
future.
a really, really good question.
Yeah.
You've been doing this a long time, huh? Start with a question.
2000, I want to say.
What do you do? I mean, really, that's your first question? I don't know. I work at baseball.
Yeah.
And we do all the media. And BAM started 15 years ago, 2000. So 2001 was our first season. So this will be our 16th season of doing baseball. And it's, BAM will do about $1.2 billion, $1.3 billion in revenue this year. High margin business, high growth business. Unfortunately, fans and people love baseball. So we're really lucky. It's like being born to rich parents. We got born with great content. And so we're pretty lucky in that way.
And you haven't suffered from the fact that baseball has declined as the national pastime and all that, particularly among the younger demographic?
I think both those assumptions are inaccurate, is what I would say as politely as I can.
You're not polite.
The word wrong comes to mind, but I don't want to use that.
Yeah.
First of all,
it's because I'm right, is basically why.
I understand the journalists are right. I've been living with that all my life.
Yeah.
I would just say this, that in terms of youth, you look at our app, it's opened 8 million times a day. The average age on at-bat is 31. It's younger than any other league. So we skew very young in baseball. Where we don't skew young is Nielsen. And guess what? No one on TV skews young, because people watching TV are you and me.
Yeah.
And we don't skew young. And so you have to.
Even I don't watch that much.
But, right, increasingly we don't. But those who do, I think the average age probably is in the 50s on regular network TV. And so I think when you look at Nielsen data, you see that. But for all of us in this space, whether it's live sports, whether it's regular content, we have to, and people are doing this already, really understand who's watching and where. Because all media is skewing a lot younger than Nielsen says, because of who's watching it, where they're watching it, whether they time and device shift it, or in our case, they can't time shift it, but they device shift it. And so we skew quite young. And in terms of the national pastime, I think when you add up the total amount of time people spend with baseball versus other sports, I think we're going to do quite well.
And yet, even though you have that logo, and even though you're talking about baseball, you're doing a lot of things that aren't baseball. And that's, I think, what makes it so fascinating. I'm just going to say that I think in the judgment of a lot of people who look at streaming and apps, the sophistication of your stuff is very strong. And you've taken that technology piece that you built, and you do a bunch of stuff that you won't talk about, but you do, even the stuff you will talk about, you do HBO Now, they turn to you, you're handling the streaming for them, right?
Yeah,
Am I right?
And the app too.
Stop me when I'm wrong. You have rights to NHL, you do that.
Yeah, just launched that.
PGA.
Yes.
You did March Madness last year.
We've been doing that for 5 or 6 years with first CBS, now Turner.
They're not baseball.
They're not.
March Madness.
It's a great event though.
So that's a bunch of sports plus HBO, and then you do stuff you don't talk about, right?
Right.
Like
we don't talk about.
I'm just going to say, my guess is you probably were the ones in the back end streaming the Super Bowl. I'm just guessing.
In the past,
you want to tell me if I'm wrong?
No, I'd love to tell you you're wrong regularly. It doesn't do me any good, but I tell you you're wrong regularly. But we've done the Super Bowl in the past. Sometimes clients don't want us to mention it. We don't care. We're a white label solution.
Okay.
So you don't see our name anywhere.
So you're moving away from being. I know that the MLB owners still are your owners.
Yes, they are.
And MLB is still the core. You consider it your core thing, but you built all this capability and you actually own rights in things other than baseball, the next step is you're going to be spun out, right? Or part of your operation.
We're going to take the technology business, the third-party business, and separate it from the baseball business. It deserves to be separated. It should be separately focused on, probably separately capitalized. The risk profile may be different in that business than in a baseball business with our owners. And so we've been talking to potential equity investors, people that you would know, everyone would know, frankly. And it's going really well.
And they are?
You're funny. You're a funny guy.
I am a funny guy.
You're a funny guy. Okay. Anyway, but they are.
I'm a baseball fan. Even me,
you're a diehard Red Sox fan.
Yeah. So.
What do you think? How do you like your team this year?
Better, but that's not saying much.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see. It's going to be a tough division. American League East is going to be a beast this year.
I know.
Yeah. So I mean.
We've won 3 World Series in recent years, and
have.
that's great. But I still am scarred by 50 years of nothing. So I take.
You're handling it well, though. You're handling.
Never mind that. Who are the 3 equity investors?
No. But they are.
That was a good diversion, but
they're both,
but unless David Ortiz is one of them, who are the 3?
Be great. He's got the money, that's for sure. It's just we're talking to strategics, people who are in our space, either content-wise or technologically wise, and we're obviously talking to so-called financial advisors, financial investors, and the fact is, strategics are financial too, and financial are strategic. Some of the people that are really good at this. They're better at this than we are. How do you grow a business? How do you hire people? Even people, the 25-year sensation that is Shane Smith, even he, who's one of a kind. If you've ever could come close to one of a kind, he's it. Even he came to the conclusion that it's probably a good time to, bring in other people, figure out what he's got there. And so,
right.
So I think we're in the same. We're not certainly Shane Smith, far from it, but I think we're in the same position. Just trying to say we can probably grow this better. We probably could use smarter people around the table. And people more experienced than we. I mean, it's been fine, and we've done a good job, and the people at BAM work extremely hard to do these third-party businesses. But this is a good time to say we could probably be bigger and faster and even better. And money's one thing, brains is another, experience is a third, and we could use all 3.
So last night, John Skipper was here, and he's certainly been hugely successful. But there's a little bit of a struggle of how to be. An OTT kind of streaming thing and still be a regular, TV channel that's been very successful over the years. How do you split the baby in a way that it all works out? What do you think about that?
Well, I think Skipper's, he's another 20-year-plus veteran. He's phenomenal. You know that firsthand. Everyone saw it last night, and ESPN is lucky to have him. I'm not nearly as negative on ESPN. I mean, they are burdened by their success. They've been so successful they have to worry about that. But if you were to tell me that they can go from a basically 8 to 11 prime time 5 days a week, and then maybe 10 hours of sports on Saturday and Sunday, 8 hours on one screen that sits on a wall, and now they can, and with these rights that they bought, now they can go to 4 billion screens 24/7. It's hard to imagine anyone's betting against ESPN. We're all here, you're all here.
Okay, I get it, but I was more interested in, he's trying to figure it out. I'm not necessarily betting against him. I want to know how you're going to figure it out.
Well, I don't think, that's the great thing about this, Walt, all kidding aside, is you don't have to figure it out. You just go where the people are. Willie Sutton had it right. That's why he robbed the banks. That's where the money is. So if the consumers are on their mobile devices, and that's where they're spending 90% of their connectivity on a mobile device, it's not hard to figure out that's where you got to be. And how, I think the reason why he was here and you all, do what you do so well at Recode is how, the next 5 years, how people get there, how John and others, all the way up to Bob Iger, who's done a phenomenal job at Disney. In 10 years' time, he's totally changed that company. It's amazing what he's done. But how they get from here to there, that's going to be fascinating. They're going to get there. There's no question ESPN is going to be successful.
And what about Bob Bowman? Where are you going to be in 5 years? You've got the technology, you've got the rights, you're about to raise a bunch of money, you've got the rest of the money still from the baseball owners.
We want to be competitive. We want to be bidding for rights.
You want to be bidding for rights.
Absolutely.
So are you going to be the first successful all over live sports, OTT? Do you have a shot at that? Let me be kinder and say, do you have a shot at it?
Maybe. I mean, it's
No,
certainly.
don't give me maybe. I was already kinder. Are you going to, do you have a shot at it?
What about the planted questions you and I had? Where are those?
Those were all a feint.
You gave me all these
They were
questions last
fake.
night.
They were fake.
You have not asked one of those questions yet. What? Why do we meet the night
It's
before?
a recode trick.
I am so tired of this bait and switch that you guys do. I had chapter and verse on all these questions you gave me. I can't. What was this silly question you asked me?
The question is, do you have a shot at doing that?
You know, I think so. Let me say this.
Thank you.
Sure, I believe we
That's an
do.
answer.
That's why we're doing it. We believe we have a shot. Do we think we could ever be ESPN? No, not in the farthest stretch of imagination. They're just really good at it, and they've good people run good businesses. Skipper's one of the best, if not he's certainly one of the top ones out there. So are we going to be ESPN? No, but is there a role for over the top, virtual MVPD, worldwide sports programming? I think there is, and we'd like to at least compete in that business.
What about non-sports programming? Are you just the technical arm that will do stuff for like HBO Now? Or are you in any way interested in also doing non-sports?
It's a really interesting question. We've told the sort of non-sports people when we've had these discussions, Walt, we've said we're happy to take as much risk as you'll give us. So if we'll put in all the money, we'll build it, we'll be completely on the hook. And if it's successful, we make money. If it's not, we lose our money. And so we have more upside. We're not really a rights owner, but we have upside as if we were a rights owner. If they sell more subscriptions, we'd have more rights. Those people have been, unlike sports, where virtually everybody sells their rights in some fashion. They've been, in general, reluctant to sell rights or let us share in the upside. We were very close with one partner, and he called me up and said, Bob, if we sell, if we basically have 2 million subscribers, you're going to make X. I said, that's right, but you're going to make a lot. You're going to make your stock's going to double. And he just didn't want to pay it. And so we ended up back and doing a vendor deal. But so far, while we've asked to structure our deal sort of with a lot of upside, like a rights deal, in the entertainment space, broadly speaking, we have not found a partner that we've been able to execute that on. We'd love to do it. I mean, we're happy to take the risk. One of the reasons we're raising money is so if that came along, we can take the risk. And hopefully we'll make money, but if we don't, and not everyone will, but we can have a slightly different risk profile, be a little more aggressive.
Bob, I can't remember, we've done this a few times. It was a few years ago the last time, and obviously the world changes pretty fast. There was a bunch of buzz when the NFL was, the Thursday night football thing came up. There was a bunch of buzz that maybe instead of a TV network, the primary owner of the rights might be, I don't know, Apple or Google or somebody. Do you think that will happen anytime soon?
No.
Tell me why.
To do 10 million concurrent streams in the U.S., no one's done it. No one's come close. You'd have to buy up every CDN. The issue is, eventually we'll get there. Will we have the hardware to be able to distribute 10 million concurrent streams of a high quality, fractured all over these devices? We can't. You couldn't sustain it. I don't want to say you couldn't. It'd be really hard to do. Could you do it one-off? If someone came to us and say, on January 17th, we need 10 million concurrent streams, could we do it? Sure. Could we do it? Netflix would.
Why? Because you'd assemble everything
You'd
that
have to
one
assemble
day.
every CDN. And by the way,
And you'd probably rob other internet capacity.
no Netflix isn't shown that day.
No Netflix.
No Netflix, no MLB.com, no NBA.TV, nothing. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but to compile it all, you could do it once a week, but nothing else would suffice. But the cost to do that is so expensive because it isn't out there. And so we need to get to a spot, and we're getting there. You and I are both old enough to remember 15 years ago how bad our broadband was. The U.S. was a fifth world nation.
I can remember 15 years ago.
Yeah, we just had no broadband, but we bet big on broadband, and now broadband's really good in America and gonna get a lot better. Wireless broadband is gonna, the equivalent 5G is coming, and it's gonna be really good for this country. So, will we be there someday where there's enough capacity to be able to stream this in high quality for 10 million concurrents? Yes. Is it it's just not it's not there. So what the NFL did, what Brian did was very smart. He has 3 networks involved in the TV product. He's going to get someone to do some of the streaming, but it's sort of an overflow. It's like the Super Bowl streaming. If Super Bowl, that were the only place, you couldn't do it, right?
You might know something about the Super Bowl streaming. Right?
Well, we've done it in the past. That's all I've said. We've done it in the past. But, you know, so he's...
The past being what, a month or
you know,
a few weeks?
Sometime in this century, we've streamed the Super Bowl. But so Brian's doing it smart. They're going to learn more, and it won't tax the system. You know, maybe they'll do 1 million concurrents. You know, total views maybe 3 million. Maybe they'll do 1 million concurrents. That's manageable. That's easy, not easy to do, but it's something.
How much can you do? What's your capability?
Well, the most we've ever done is in terms of concurrents. We've kissed 2 million concurrents. And that's for some of our partners, not for baseball, but for some of our partners, and it's sustained 2 million. That's 2 major CDNs, you know, really chugging, and you don't have backup. I mean, that's the other thing too. If something goes wrong, and you're using all these CDNs, who do you go to? I mean, who's next? I mean, but could Google or Amazon do something like this? Sure. Could they bid for the NFL rights? Sure. Is it worth doing? Whatever the price is for for 10 weeks? Don't know. Is that a business model or is that a stunt? Don't know.
What's Eddie Q up to, and what do you think is going to happen there?
Well, I think there's another business that everyone knows is so smart, so hip, so now, so current, and yet that management team's been there for 25 years. There's nobody in that management team is 16 or 21. Mark Zuckerberg, and he's done all right for himself. Is not at Apple. Yeah, he's done pretty well. But that's a great management team. We're like everyone else who's a developer, a content owner. We've gotten to know Eddie Q. We're lucky because he loves sports.
He does.
He loves sports. He loves baseball. He happens to like Duke basketball.
Have you given him a private Duke channel in his house?
No, we have not, but maybe that's why we've been getting to yes on some of the things. But Eddie's done a great job, and now with Phil sort of stepping in too, those are two, if the world were Eddie Q and Phil Schiller, in terms of what we would deal with in life, they're visionary, they run good businesses, they're smart business people, they're attentive to what you want.
Schiller is smart enough to be a Red Sox fan too.
He's also a Red Sox fan, right? He's done pretty well too. He's in Ortiz land in terms of money, I think. Maybe even above it. Maybe John Henry land.
I'm not, but okay.
Well, you're young. Your day may come. But I mean, so if everyone were like that, I mean, the answer is usually no. But they have a business and they have a model that works. Somebody said to me, Bob, don't you hate paying the 30%? And we do. We wish it were 15, and on Apple TV it is. But they've created an ecosystem that's phenomenal, absolutely essential for developers and content owners. And so they deserve their fair share.
Do they have a chance to build their own service with skinny bundles?
It's interesting. Once you get into the content business, and they found this out in music, first of all, there's a lot, they were the first to come up with they weren't the first, but they did smartphones best. The phone preceded the App Store by a year. But the App Store is pretty special on Apple. Right. It's great on Android too, and obviously Google's done a phenomenal job catching up, and actually in some cases with the phones, people think they've exceeded what Apple's done. But when you get into the content delivery business, and you get into the business of creating stuff that people love that isn't hardware, it's a different game. They found that out in music. There's a lot of competitors, and so everyone assumes that they will get in, and everyone assumes they'll be the best. I'm not sure either one of those is yes. They're really smart. I'm not sure they're going to get into it. And there's a lot of competition out there. We know that firsthand. That they have a lot of advantages, but they can't give themselves an advantage. Otherwise, no one's going to be on their phone. If they favor this sport versus baseball, we'll say, see ya. So it's hard. It's hard for them. They're very smart. And what we love, I mean, they're just really thoughtful, attentive, great partners. They help us every step of the way. We could not ask for better partners. They made a lot of money from us, but they've earned every penny.
Well, I've been known to actually watch a baseball game on your app.
Yes.
Paying you a subscription 10 feet from a big screen, high-res TV, because I'd rather sit on the porch.
Right. Nice.
Smoke a cigar and watch the game.
We could do that right here. If we put it on right now.
Can we smoke a cigar right here?
Probably not.
No.
We're in California. I don't think you can smoke a cigar in all of California. Although I heard about, on my way out, not my way out, but all we hear about is how dry California is. It's dry, dry, dry. And I'm here yesterday. I flew in yesterday. I was in LA all day, and it's like 18 feet of rain in 6 hours. So if this is dry,
I'm not a meteorologist, but I don't think that's making up for the drought yet. But,
probably not. Probably not. That's a good point.
But the question is, I'm using a screen that's you know, objectively inferior to the one I have 10 feet away, but I don't care.
Right.
Am I weird, or is that just
I think that's the point, and that's why streaming, you know, building apps and streaming isn't for everybody. Because in today's world, let's say there's 5% of our users do what you do. Well, we got millions and millions of subs, so 5%'s a lot. And if 100 of them go to Twitter and say it doesn't look good, we're done. And so we live in a world where you need obviously thick skin, but you also need big ears because you have to listen to all what these people say. And if 100 people think your app is no good, and we've been through it, and we went through it the launch of the NHL, our CDN went down, we had real problems that first night, but we got through it, and the fans spoke up, and as you'd expect. But if it's a big screen experience, or if it's on Xbox, or if it's on PlayStation, or Roku, whatever it is, or just on your tablet, it's got to look great. Otherwise, you will be on Twitter. And 10 years ago, you A, didn't know, and B, you might not have cared if it was perfect. And now you know, because people talk.
Okay, so you brought up Twitter, so I have to ask you what I think is going to be true for everybody who does content, whether it's people like us or people doing what you do. What's your feeling about off-platform content? Will there be a time when you will make available to me either an entire game or highlights or something that is only available? You're not even going to bother to publish it on your site or on your app, but you're only going to publish it on Facebook, or you're only going to publish it on Snapchat, or you're only going to publish it on Apple News.
We do that now. YouTube has its unique content. We have a deal with Google, and it's obviously all these platforms are important. You have to have your content on every platform. Every model is different. Twitter's a broadcast medium, YouTube is not. And so, in terms of real time, if you're not actively using Twitter, you're missing a big audience. It's a broadcast network. It's in some ways more real time than other things that we do, and more real time than what MLB.com does. It's on Twitter before we have it sometimes. So everybody has to have a relationship.
But do you put the video on? Can you imagine putting video on Twitter that is not on your app?
No, I don't think we'll ever.
Because for those who don't know, I mean, in his app, you can watch the game, but you can also watch highlights. Every time there's in-game highlights, actually, and then there are other modes where you can watch highlights.
Yeah. I don't think we'll ever penalize our app users by saying it's only over here. There will be content that we don't create. Snapchat, we did a deal with them last year. We're going to try and do a deal with them for spring training this year. We did a deal where they take all this content and they put up their 200-second video, and it gets 40 million plays. They're all 25 and under, and that content doesn't appear on our site. But it's created by users. It's created by fans. It's created by players. And so the content that we don't create will live on YouTube, will live on Snapchat, will live on Twitter, will live on Facebook, and we're fine with that. This content that we create, some of it may be on Facebook, but it'll also be in the app. Some of it may be on Snapchat, but it'll also be in the app. I don't think we ever want people who are in the app to say, I've got to get out of this app and go to Snapchat. What we want to do, conversely, is people on Snapchat, give them all the baseball they want. If they like it, maybe they'll come to the app. But gone are the days.
Because the age group for Snapchat, and I don't mean to generalize, because obviously there's different people at every age, but there's a lot of people that age that don't want to sit through a 3-hour baseball.
I don't blame them.
They just don't.
No, I mean, the great thing about baseball is...
So if you can put highlights or some other kind of thing on Snapchat.
And the other thing is, the narrative of our baseball game is rarely the score. We play 162 games. Your Red Sox do. So the final score of any one game, you can do the math. It's less than 1%. It's not like a football game when it's 10 times more important.
Right.
For us, it's almost a homestand equals one football game. And so any one score, that's rarely the narrative. The narrative is the triple play in the third inning. The narrative is the bat flip in the seventh inning. The narrative is usually something else. And that's what connects with viewers, and that's what connects with fans, young and old. It isn't uniquely young. It isn't uniquely...
That's the stuff that you can put other places.
Absolutely. It is other places, whether we put it there or not. I mean, we put it there. We embed our video and put it everywhere. And again, it's slightly different on Snapchat than it would be on Facebook, that would be on Twitter. They're all different platforms, of course. But people do, too. I mean, people have their Facebook page. They put it up. People have their Twitter. They post things. So, the only time we really get itchy is when media outlets... you don't do this, but other media outlets, they will post video that is, not ours and not theirs. And we call them up and say, just use ours, please. But when fans do it and they put it everywhere, I think that's great. I mean, and invariably, as you've just correctly pointed out, it's generally the camera's focused toward the stands, not toward the field. The narrative is something that's going on there. I mean, we have a sport with 75 million people, more than the other leagues combined. The fans are usually part of the story in our narrative for our great game.
All right. Well, thanks. I appreciate it. And we're going to let people ask questions.
Really?
Yes, we are. You do not have to be a baseball fan because remember, he's going to be a big deal doing all kinds of things.
Someday. Someday.
Go ahead.
My name is Alex. I run a company called Smile Time. Not a baseball fan. Grew up in the Soviet Union, so I haven't quite figured out the rules yet. Although they're like the Red Sox too. Not meant to be a softball question, a serious question. The narrative in general about hiring tech people between media companies and tech-focused companies, that media companies don't tend to have a much harder time attracting top talent. And you guys seem to have been an incredible exception to that rule. And not only have you built a great tech organization, you've done so as a wholly owned division of a media company. Other than attracting baseball fans, what are some of the things that you've put in place to make that happen and retain the people?
Because they don't have equity, right?
No, not to my knowledge. I know I don't have equity. I hope they don't have equity. I would say that it's a really good question, and it's technology is a focus, but it's true everywhere. I'm a big believer that people are the difference. Whether you're digging ditches for a living or whether you're a world-renowned journalist for a living, you do that for a living. Whatever it is, people make a difference, and so we really spend a lot of time in trying to hire, retain, promote, and pay the very best people. And so we spend. You think of what I can't write a lick of code. I'm not. There's not really much I can do. But hiring is sort of the one thing you're supposed to do well in this business. And so we spend a lot of time on it. And I think we do. I think culture really matters. Culture trumps strategy every day. But we also, I'd say this: a couple things. One is, it's a meritocracy. Best ideas win. The second is we try and give clear definition of what we're trying to do. And I think the third thing is we let people go. We have kids your age who say, I want to go do the startup, I'm going to get equity, and I could be worth $5 million if it all pans out. They're 28 years old. We say, good, we'll take you back if it doesn't work out, but we're not going to try and keep you from doing something. You're young and you're single and you want a chance to become a millionaire because you've got an idea, God love you. And also if you stay at BAM, as Walt was touching on, there's always another mountain. We're not just doing baseball. That's plenty. We're going to try and do other things, and it's not just new technology stuff. The 60 frames per second that we're doing for hockey. No one's done that before. And in a hockey game, you see it looks. Some people are saying it looks better than it does on their TV. And so doing stuff like that is fun for people. And we invest. Somebody asked me what the ROI is on this investment. I said I have no idea. I have no idea what the ROI is. If we looked at our business as distinct investments in ROI, we probably wouldn't be doing any of this. So I think the fact that they know that they can find the next mountain, I think matters too. But it's hard, and it is a full-time job. And if you can code, leave me your resume, because we're always hiring.
Here's someone applying for a job, I suspect.
Nope. Lucas Shaw with Bloomberg, Dodger season ticket holder. You mentioned that annual sales were around $1.3 billion. I'm wondering how much of that comes from your baseball business and how much of it is from the tech third-party business? Yeah,
it's about 75-25. 75 baseball, 25, maybe 80-20. It's around there. 75, 25, 80-20 baseball versus third party.
And how big do you project that third-party business can get while you're seeking investors?
Billions and billions, right? Isn't that why we're doing this? We didn't do this to lay up. We're gonna. It's tin cup. We're going for the hole. I don't know if you get the reference, but
I get the reference.
Sorry to use a golf reference. I need a baseball reference.
All right. Well, thank you, Bob Bowman.
Thank you, Walter.
Really appreciate it.